Hello guys, welcome to B2 Chess. As I like to say, the point of my channel is to make weaker players to be able to grasp the beauty and complexity of the game of chess. So that's exactly what I'm going to start to do. In this series called Road to 1000 ELO, we're going to help weaker players to learn the basics of the game and therefore making them more skillful and making their road to the higher ratings easier. So let's begin with how to evaluate chess position. A very popular topic, a very important topic, and that's exactly what is the video about. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button and let's go, let's start. First of all, let me say that there are 5 different components that will help you and that are essential for you to correctly evaluate chess position. Well, the first of all is king safety. Well, of course, you might have an extra rook, bishop, pawns, whatever, but if your king is in grave danger and there's no way to stop it, it doesn't matter. Even the material, which is the second most important thing while evaluating the chess position, will not help you if your king is stuck somewhere in the forest and has absolutely zero chances to survive. Okay, so we're done with first, which is king safety, of course, and the second is material advantage or disadvantage. Well, there's no particular way to talk about material advantage or disadvantage, but in short, if the position is equal, the pieces, the king safety, but you're, for example, down a pawn, of course you'll be worse. So that's some way to understand this, but of course it's not always that easy. The third of all is piece activity. Well, for instance, it's very easy to talk about piece activity when you look, for example, at the bishops. For example, one bishop is staring at the pawn and doing nothing, and the other bishop sees the whole diagonal, and of course this will give you some degree of advantage, or if you're down material, it will give you compensation, which is a term that we use for saying that despite being some material down, the position is not lost or anything, because your pieces kind of compensate Блять, такой диалог хороший запорол. First of all, there are 5 key components that will help you evaluating the chess position. First of all is king safety. Of course, you can be up a rook, a bishop, a knight, in some extreme cases maybe a queen, but if your king is stuck somewhere in the forest and has no chances to survive, it doesn't matter because you'll get checkmated or find another way to lose the game. So once we're done with this, the second most important component is of course material advantage or disadvantage. Well, with this it's kind of simple. For example, you and your opponent have the same king safety, you have the same activity of the pieces, which we'll talk about later, but you're down a pawn. So, of course, you'll be losing. Well, maybe not losing, but definitely worse. So, it's kind of logical the way it works. The third of all, which I've already mentioned, is, of course, piece activity. Well, it's fairly easy to speak about chess activity. First of all, there are 5 key components that will help you in evaluating the chess position. So first of all is of course king safety. So for example, you might be up a rook or a bishop, which we'll talk about later. So the material is towards you, so you have some extra material that you can work with, but your king is somewhere in the center of the board with no chances of survival. So of course, the king safety is the most important because it like overvalues all the different components, as you'll be checkmated if your opponent is accurate enough. So the second component is material advantage or disadvantage. With this, it's kind of logical because, for example, you have the same king safety, but you're down a piece, a pawn, a couple of pawns, and in this case, your position is worse, maybe even losing, depends on how much material you're down, but still, with this one, it's kind of logical. Just count everybody up, and if you're down some points of material, it's probably bad, and you're probably not gonna win. But, you know, beginner chess, it's kind of tough to say what's going to happen on the other move. Maybe someone's gonna blunder something very bad, like the king. Okay, that doesn't matter. The fourth component is the activity of your pieces. Well, with this, you have to be, you have to be on the lookout, you know, because there are certain rules that will help you to evaluate how active your pieces are. And in turn, if your pieces are more active, for example, than your opponent, but you are, for example, one pawn down, it might not even matter because your pieces are just better, see more squares on the opponent's half of the board, or just add some pressure that your opponent has to somehow cope with. Okay, so for example, if we talk about, let's say, bishops. So one bishop is staring at a pawn and has absolutely no role, just staring at the other guys fighting and going like, when will I do some damage? Why are you fighting and I'm not? And the other bishop is sitting somewhere in the corner but sees the whole diagonal in front of him. So of course, if your pieces are more active, it can sometimes even be more important than the material that you're down. Okay, fourth component is some tactical solutions to the position, because the position might seem dry, equal, like not interesting, just go on, offer a draw and call it a day. But there's sometimes tactics, and for tactics you have to once again be on the lookout and complete some chess puzzles. Chess puzzles are very important in becoming a stronger player, so you'll be able to recognize some kind of patterns in your head and play them on the board. Okay, and the last one is, well, I decided to put these two in one because these are the least important, but they are also quite important, and they might decide if your position is worse or your opponent's position is worse, or maybe you're equal and you don't understand anything about chess, which you probably do, and so do I. So these are, first of all, the pawn structure. For example, you have like an absolutely equal, let's say, rook endgame, but your pawns are like standing right next to each other, and your opponent has, I don't know, doubled pawns here, tripled pawns here. Of course, it will be better because his pawns are targets that are easy to collect and therefore have a material advantage, which will give you the chances to win. And the second that I wanted to mention is the space that you control. Well, with space, it's also quite logical. The space is basically the amount of squares that you control on the opponent's half of the board. For example, if your opponent is somehow locked down with pawns or pieces on his side of the board, well, it's fairly hard to play such positions because you don't have space to maneuver, or you just don't have opportunities to break out, so that also matters. So for all of these, I'm gonna provide you with some examples, and as the final, we'll have a position that you will have to evaluate to kind of understand which component outweighs the other, and therefore you'll get to know if you're now able to evaluate the chess position, and you've now, well, I can't say mastered, but somehow learned to some degree this skill, which will very likely help you during your chess games. So let's get into this topic. I'm so excited, hope you're also. So let's start. Okay guys, so we start off with this position, and as you can see, 61 accuracy, 75, you know it's gonna be a great one. Well, beginner chess and intermediate. What are we talking about here? Okay, so it starts with my beloved c45, the English opening. Well, the openings, I actually think they deserve a separate video, but that's for some later things. Okay, so we end theory. The position, well, quite pleasant for black, as they have this super bishop that is pointing to the other corner and adding some pressure. Well, but I can say that black is like totally lost or something. No, I can say for sure that it's equal. So e3 to activate the queen, and then play d4 to crack the center and have some advantage. Okay, c6, knight e2, once again trying to play d4, but computer says that I should have played d4 on this move. Never mind. Okay, d5, takes, d4 now, takes, bishop retreats, we pin the knight, and well, the first inaccuracy, the bishop stands in kinda strange point, and it's already like better for me because my opponent rated 1684 just, I can say for sure, wasted a move, but whatever. I'm not here to judge him. So knight f4, attacking the bishop, h6, I have to take, he takes back. I didn't want to take because I simultaneously activate his queen, but if I retreated to h4, then he would have not only trapped my bishop, but forked me, which is quite unpleasant. So you should also, which is a like lesson in a lesson, a small lesson in a big lesson, you should think, if you retreat, or how can he attack you again? And it turns out that g5 wins a piece, a knight or a bishop. Well, actually, if bishop here, g5, yes, take. No, you can save the bishop. Okay. Anyway, that's not what I played. I took, he took. I took the pawn here. He takes my knight, which is the best move, which I didn't think it was. Okay, and then I take with the bishop. So that's a terrible decision. That's a terrible decision because I could have taken with the knight, attacking his bishop, and he would have given probably a check, or I don't know, taken this, whatever. But I take with the bishop, not forcing anything. And so he uses the moment and gives me a check. And I have to move my king, which is already a start of my problems. Okay, he plays knight c6, I play queen e4, I still don't know why. Yeah, I should have played king g2. Once again, king safety. Computer supports the idea of keeping the king safe at all costs. Okay, so he retreats his bishop, I take, and I thought that by making this capture, I damage his pawn structure, which we've talked about earlier. And I thought that, well, can't be bad, can't be bad. And now I play king g2, but as you can see, the eval is now -3.25. Why? First of all, I just lose the pawn. So, very simple capture chain. Take, take, take. The material is equal. I can, of course, take here, but it's not gonna help me because, once again, what are we talking about? King safety. Look at his king. How can I get to it? How can I mean, the only active piece is my queen, and I can't get to the king. Like, there's no way. And my king, he doesn't even need to get to it because, I mean, no protection whatsoever. I mean, he can give a check, force me somewhere, and you can say, but material is equal. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Queen, queen. Rook, 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 rook. No, my king is wide open. And that's the key component. That's why the evaluation is minus 3.25. And that's exactly why I lost the game. I took the pawn. He played rook a8, but he should have given a check once again, using vulnerability of my king. And here, if your king is like somewhere stranded in the field and there are queens on the board, trade the queens. Just offer. Maybe a miracle will happen and you'll have this. And it's equal now. I mean, totally equal rook endgame. So one rule that we can learn from this one, if you're down, I mean, if your king is in the center of the board or just very open, trade the queens. Don't go queen a4. Why go queen a4? Protect the pawn? I mean, why? The king is now abandoned by everybody. I mean, he's just totally betrayed by his own friends. Okay, and after that I going to lose the game, making another blunder. Queen takes a7. I mean, why? Why are you okay? That's that's exactly why I started this channel, because being 1600 doesn't mean anything, because you have to understand while being 1600. Yes, you take the pawn, protect your pawn, you're up 2 pawns, hahaha. But your king, and the rooks, look, 2 open files for them. Look at my rooks. They're just, what are these rooks doing? I mean, I can't even tell ya. So he's doubling up, as I understand, or he can also go for my king, which how can I even defend? I mean, rook e2 to protect f2, just queen e3, and first of all I lose the rook, and second of all I'm just getting mated here. So there's no way to save myself, so I go d5, rook c2. Now I can save this pawn for sure, and now I try to trade the queens, but he can just take. I play king g1, and that's checkmate. So as you can see, even in the final position, I'm not down anything. But look at his king and look at mine. That's the difference. And that's exactly why I put king safety in the first position if we're speaking about importance. So let's move on to material. Okay guys, so we move on to the material. So as I said, evaluating material advantage or disadvantage, I mean, simple, the concept is very logical. If the position is like equal but you're ups or down something, you're better or worse. But okay, I'll provide you an example. This is a game against and my opponent from South Africa, and well, this game was pretty good, 92 accuracy. I'm quite proud of it, but okay, that's not the point. Once again, my beloved English opening, c4, knight f6, knight f3, e6 to activate your dark suit bishop. You can't waste any time in the opening, so it's very important to activate your pieces as fast as possible. So okay, e6, g3, also activating my light squared bishop on g2, so it can see this whole diagonal, which will be very pleasant. d5, I play bishop g2, which was the point of playing g3 in the first place. He plays c5, which is, as it turns out, a theoretical move, which I didn't even know about. Okay, castles. Always, as we now know, it's important to keep our king safe, and castling is very much doing that. It's knight c6, d4. So I decide to, first of all, I can play now knight c3 and put my bishop here to pin the knight, or here to just place it really nicely so it can see this long diagonal. Takes, knight takes my queen, I take his queen, and we are now, well, I can't say that we are in the end game, but like we're in the middle game. So bishop takes c5, a little before we speak about compensation and his activity, you might ask, well, he's up a pawn, so he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pawns. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have a bishop, he has a bishop. You have he has a bishop, you have a bishop. You have a rook, he has a rook. You have a rook, he has a rook, you have a rook. You have a knight, he has a knight. You have a knight, he has a knight. Why are you better? Plus 0.5. Well, first of all, my bishop. As I've mentioned earlier, this diagonal, he sees as many squares as he can, and this definitely gives me some advantage. Second of all, my knight here is placed quite nicely. It can, if some moves occur, he can jump somewhere in the middle. The middle for knights, I mean, being placed in the center of the action, it's like the best option for the knights. They like chaos, they like fighting. No, the bishop is this talented but very silent guy in the classroom. I mean, he knows everything, but he prefers to stay out of action, and knights are just, I don't know, bullies. They like to fight, like to jump in the most active places, and that's the difference. Okay, so bishop takes c5, he takes the pawn, I'm down a pawn, knight c3, and well, it's quite a logical move. I don't even understand why the computer says that it's an inaccuracy. It says that I should have played knight d2 to attack the pawn, but whatever. Knight c3, the position is like 3 zeros, completely equal. Oh, and also, he hasn't castled, and my rook sees the whole file. So this also gives me advantage, and it's also the reason why the evaluation is like zeros instead of being in his favor just because he has a pawn. Okay, so he castles, good move. Bishop g5. Bishop g5 is not the best of moves. I mean, I'm lost. Not lost, but worse. Because you should be, first of all, you should be, if you're down material and your pieces are more active, you should attack stuff. Attack stuff. Also, why I should have played knight d2, not knight c3. The computer insists on me winning this pawn back as fast as possible and using my piece activity to outplay him. I play bishop g5. I don't know why. I didn't want to take anyway. I mean, why would I give my good bishop for the knight that, well, can't even jump anywhere, because he jumps here, I take, and I'm just, I have dominant pieces and the material is equal. Can't jump here, I mean, I take, so yeah, a very bad move. If I had to play a move now, I think I would have played this move. But actually, yeah, I think this, oh, it's also a mistake, because what? Knight g4? Oh, and he attacks and I have to play passively. Okay, so the computers are so, I hate them, you know. They're just like, no, this is wrong and that is wrong. Oh my gosh, what are you playing? Stupid human. And yeah, I hate that. Okay, so anyway, he castles, bishop g5, terrible move. And he plays bishop e7. An even worse move. Because, as I said, he doesn't have to be worried about me capturing this knight. I mean, yes, if I take... so, okay. Let's say that he plays some random move like bishop e7, bishop d7. I'm sorry. I know that it hangs a piece, but I just want to illustrate the point. If I take, yes, of course, this is ugly. I know, but it's not worth my good bishop. I mean, he just went here and took the knight, while being, you know, really good and probably useful in the future. So that's just not worth it, you know. Okay, so okay, I play knight d4. Knight d4, not the best of moves. My logic here was that I trade this knight for this knight. In quality, they're about the same, but he won't have like any activity, and maybe using my active pieces, I will like make an advantage and outplay him. Okay, knight d4. He of course takes, which is also an inaccuracy, because now the point that I mentioned is very logical, because he doesn't have any active pieces, and I'm just I can just double up and double rooks on the open file. Guys, beginners, if you can double up, do it, because dominating the file is very important in positional games, as you're restricting your opponent to the limit. Okay, so b6, and now I can just take his rook, and let's think about it. I mean, I can't say that he's well, I can't say that I have like enough compensation for me being down a pawn. But when you voluntarily give me the rook, the second most valuable piece, I mean, you're gonna lose probably, because you're just down a rook, and despite maybe having like some disadvantages positionally, you're giving me like an advantage materially speaking. So he just makes the situation even worse. I mean, b6, what's the point? I mean, you can just resign, bro. Why giving me the rook? Okay, so I take, of course. And of course, guys, if you have such a powerful piece, you should always be on the lookout. If the guy opens you the door to rob his house, and he promises you that the cops won't touch you, do it then. Rob the house. I mean, he just opens the door and goes like, I mean, I have some jewelry here, I have some golden stuff, just go in and grab it. So I grab it. He plays bishop a6, attacking my rook. Of course, I don't plunder it, I retreat the bishop, which is a good move. And now it's +7. And now the material advantage sums up with my positional advantage, because the rooks, I mean, just compare these guys. The bishops, I can say equal. The knight's movement is restricted, because if he moves anywhere, I will take. And once again, a very, very, very important tip: if you're up material, just close your eyes, and trade everything for everything, without suffering any like critical disadvantages. You can, I don't know, sacrifice rook for bishop, sacrifice an exchange if you're up a rook. I don't know, take everything, just take everything, and you're, I mean, you have, for example, you have 20 points of material on the board, and your opponent has 16. Maybe he has some chances. If you have 8 points of material on the board and he has 3, I mean, okay, for this example, you have 8 points of material and he has 4. I mean, the difference is 4 points in both examples, but being down 4 for 8 is far, far worse than being down 16 for 20. Okay, so I retreat, he plays b5. I double the rooks, which was my whole idea all along. Okay, so he attacks my knight. Also, playing well, because if you're down material, you should be aggressive. Maybe your opponent will blunder something. Knight e4, trying to trade the knights. Doesn't trade the knights, but I can trade bishops now. And the game goes on. I take the pawn, I'm just rook up. I jump in, I take the bishop. And as I said, I mean, in this position, I can blunder something. But in this position, even if I don't know, sack something for something with suffering several losses, I mean, there aren't many pieces on the board, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so we trade. I try to checkmate him, because, for example, if he does something stupid like a6, I checkmate him with rook d8, because he can't cover himself, and I cut his escape via h7, and that will be checkmate. But he sees it, he plays a5, I retreat. Once again, guys, retreating is nice. Retreating is useful. I mean, you can, I don't know, well, in this particular case, I don't know. I think I will make a separate video on retreating, because some people just can't retreat. I mean, psychologically. It's like very tough for them, because how can I retreat? I should be dominating, attacking. No! You can't play chess like this. I mean, in some cases you can, but you shouldn't. Because improving your pieces, the activity, slowly, totally fine. Totally fine. I mean, I don't know, you can... if you can't retreat, you're gonna play like something like knight c6 and blunder your bishop. So yeah, be on the lookout every single move. I retreat once again to g2. I think I retreated to this square like 3 times. King f7. Rooks on the 7th rank are very useful, because on the 7th rank they can pick up some pawns, and this is generally like considered the best spot for them. Okay, a5. I play rook a7 to kinda not let his rook move, because I'll just take the pawn and he has no counterplay. King f6. I bring the second rook on the 7th rank, which is like a perfect spot for them. I give a check, he goes here, I take with check, he goes here, I check him again, trying to somehow checkmate him. f4 check, 94, rook d7, he goes here, and king f1. I just want to give mate with rook d3, because as you can see, if I play rook d3, he can't go to the d file, he can't go here because of the bishop, and he could have been able to take the pawn if I didn't play king f1. But now I do it, and he has no escape. King f1, rook c5, and the final move, rook d3 checkmate. So that was the illustration of like an ordinary game, but with me being up a lot of material and slowly but surely converting it in just 34 moves. And the most like useful tip that I can give you, if you're up much material, like queen, rooks, I don't know, more than 5, if you're up more than, let's say, 7 points of material, which will happen all the time below the level of like 1000, just sacrifice without suffering critical losses, and you'll be fine. You'll just lose the game. You'll just win the game, as your opponent will run out of counterplay, and that'll be it. Okay, so we move on to the next one. A little interruption to our video. I decided to divide it in 2 parts because it was getting too long. So we're gonna continue with the next video. I hope you enjoyed this one, and if it's so, then leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.